starts now. Here's your host, Audrey Dahlgren.
Happy Tuesday, and since this is the hashtag Tuesday Tune Show, I have a great song to share with you today. I happened to stumble upon it while on vacation in Northern California. Alex, I don't know what iPhone you have, but mine prompted me to do an update, and it totally changed my Apple Music. So these red bubbles started to come into play, and in these red bubbles, it asked me what genres I liked, and then after it shuffled through that, it asked me what artists I like, and you would highlight the bubble.
Oh, nice.
And it was very
And then it just starts
weird.
spitting out new music for you?
It did. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I like it, yeah, because it now when I go to listen to an artist, it shuffles through just all these random different songs that I have never even heard of before. And for example, this song that I'm going to share today, I stumbled upon. It was released in 2017. I do not know how to pronounce the artist at all.
Something like Heedgard or something like that.
Right, but it's spelled all capital letters, Hedegaard. All capital letters, as you mentioned, and it's titled Ready to Love. But it screams good vibes, so we're here for it.
Why'd you gotta go and do that? Steal my heart up in a whiplash. I didn't know I could be kissed like that. No. It was 2 a.m. on Melrose. We were drunk and talking too close. Could've sworn that I saw you fall. Oh.
So we're not going to be able to get to the juicy part of it because of, we don't want anything. We don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, we don't want Facebook or YouTube to kick us off.
Right.
So we can talk over it. I think that helps. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, it definitely, you have to let it play out more. And once you hear the chorus, it kind of just, it gets you, So anyway.
I like the vibe. It's a good one. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. I have to ask you too, do you have a tune today? Because it's been 2 weeks since
it has been a while.
We've done this.
I got one queued up
And
here.
I know you've been out on the boat, so you're probably rocking some jams out there the last couple of weeks. So didn't know if you have anything you want to contribute today.
Yeah, I pulled one up. This is just a feel-good song, kind of. I used to, when I was back in college at Davenport, when I'd get up right around 8 a.m. each day, this would be the first song that I'd play while I did my stretching or whatever, my rehab stretching, because I had a pulled groin that I was rehabbing throughout the entire season, my senior year. So this was one. I'll skip the instrumental, but there's about a 55-second classical instrumental to this song. It's by Mac Miller. It's called 2009.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard this one, but it's just a nice feel-good song that I like.
Well, I don't need to lie no more. Nowadays, all I do is shine, take a breath and ease my mind. And she don't cry no more.
Kind of hear that classical in the background.
Yeah, I like it. I have not heard this song yet.
This whole album's really good. This was the last album that he dropped before his passing. So
okay.
It's kind of sad because if you know Mac Miller and the story of Mac Miller, he was battling drug addiction for about 3 or 4 years, and if you pay attention to his albums, you kind of tell when he was doing well and then when there were setbacks. And this was actually an album where he felt like he was pulling out and kind of saw the light at the end of the tunnel and felt like he was in a good place. And then about 2 months later, so that part of it is sad. But this was his last album before he was actually alive to drop. His producer dropped another one a year after his passing, called Circles, also another really good one. But yeah, so the Mac Miller, he's a guy that's probably one of my favorite artists. I love his music, especially his later stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a sad note too because he did pass. But this is a really, really good song, really good album as well. That's my song for the day.
Well, I love it, and that also too kind of reminds me of Juice WRLD, because if you listen to a lot of his songs too as well, he does. It's not ironic, but it's just he talks about so many drugs and taking drugs.
Yeah,
and then unfortunately,
just those struggles. If you're, like me, when I was listening to Mac Miller, most of the time I was in high school, early college, so a lot of it went over my head. I didn't relate to a ton of it, but it's really after the fact, which it always seems like is the case, and then you go back, listen, and you can really hear and feel that pain and that struggle and what he was battling with. And unfortunately, it took him. But yeah, no, he had some good moments as well, and this album was probably a bright spot in a really, really dark time from his life.
Yeah, and you hear that too with artists, is that a lot of the times they'll get their inspiration from what's happening in their lives. And some of them do end up creating some of the best songs, or because it's relatable. I think.
Yeah, no, and you feel the emotion, and you really pour your heart and soul into it when, for whatever reason, when you are in your darkest times. There's something about music that must be a therapy, and yeah, it's a lot of those best artists. They pour their heart and souls into their songs. So yeah, you can hear a lot and relate a lot to where they are in their lives.
Absolutely. Well, if you have a hashtag Tuesday tune that you would like to share with us, you can always do so by putting it on my Facebook page at The Audrey Dahlgren Show, or on Twitter at Dahlgren Show. And don't forget, you can always listen live to each of my episodes by downloading the Spotlight Radio Network One Touch app. We're going to be talking some more football today because why not? As we mentioned yesterday, it's here. And with the news I shared at the end of yesterday's show about Brad Lilly taking over as the interim football coach at Okemos High School for the 2021-22 season, we need to go into this a little bit further today, especially since I was able to go over there yesterday and speak with him. The athletic department revealed the news late Sunday night, and Lilly will lead the team until a full search is completed following the season. He, of course, is in this role after Mike Crum decided to step down a week ago today. Crum works for the Michigan State Police and took a new position as the deputy director, which is a job that is very time-consuming, and it's ultimately it would have affected his ability to coach at a very high level. Mike is going to come on the show tomorrow to talk about his new job and his decision to leave, so that is definitely something that you're going to want to tune in and listen to. But today it's all about Lilly and him taking over this program. So for some backstory for people who, if you're not familiar with Okemos' football program, Crum was at Okemos for 3 seasons. In his first year in 2018, he took over. That's when he took over for longtime coach Jack Wallace. And in that first year, Crum was able to lead the team to a 7-4 record and its first playoff win since 2011. Then in 2019, they finished 1-8 overall and lost all 7 of their games in 2020. So they didn't win a single game last year. And after speaking with Lilly yesterday, on the turf field at the high school, the program is not in very good shape at all. And as of yesterday, he told me that they had 18 players on their roster.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing about Okemos especially, is that participation is very, very down. And I think that's kind of ringing true across the board for football, but especially at Okemos for whatever reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and, I get that some of the stuff in it, I don't know. I went into, this is a discussion that I had with someone actually yesterday. I don't know if the pandemic hurt participation or it helped it. Because I do think at first everybody, like last season, I think everybody was so ready to do something because, everybody experienced a moment where, oh my gosh, I may never ever get to do that again. Or what if I never had the opportunity to do that again? But then also too, I think the pandemic made people lazy.
Yeah.
So there's like a double-edged sword there. And by no means, I'm not calling high school kids lazy. I'm not doing that.
I will.
Okay, so Alex is going to. But I do think that there's a lackadaisical, because I even found myself at times, because you were so used to having a set schedule, and my schedule didn't veer off too much, but I mean, it was a lot different with having no sports.
Yeah.
And so I see both sides of it. And so I don't know if you can correlate it together. I don't know, but it is very interesting.
No, yeah, definitely. I think you brought up a point too that made me think, just like for participate, like I'm going back to like my senior year. So I was a multi-sport athlete up until my sophomore year, and then I decided to focus solely on baseball. But if I say COVID year was my junior year and I missed out on that baseball season, and now you're going into your senior year and there's some sort of uncertainty around the long term for the long term season, especially baseball being in spring, I would probably have been more inclined to play football that year just for this full sake. Like, I don't want to miss a full year again of sports. And if football is going to be going, and I know this is the season, it's the closest one to me, I would have probably been more inclined to jump back into football just to make sure that I got some sort of season in my senior year, not waiting till spring and seeing if these variants or if there's going to be something else down the line that could disrupt things. So I guess from that standpoint, maybe it would make people more inclined, but definitely from what you're saying too, on the other side of it, when you get comfortable, just with your schedule and with having it being a year of no sports and you get used to that. Yeah, and you're kind of if you were doing it for fun, you were kind of on the fence with it, and it was just more of a participation thing for you to get through your high school years, a socializing type thing, and you didn't have really serious aspirations of playing at the next level. I could see some of these kids going, especially if there's any type of uncertainty around the season, I could see them going, maybe I don't need to do it.
Well, and two, I think it's really hard, especially when looking at a program like Okemos, who last year didn't win one game.
Mm-hmm.
The year before that, they only won one game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I don't know who needs to be contacted in a sense of like what's going on here.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. We need to talk to somebody in that school district to kind of figure out what's the main reason why this participation is down. I mean, we know with all the new research done with the head injuries and the CTE and the long-term dangers of football, that participation was across the board probably going to drop a little bit, but for whatever reason, Okemos, it seems like it's down tremendously compared to other schools. And I heard of that with baseball. I know they had a good baseball season this year, but there was a few years back but it was because of lacrosse, and a lot of kids were deciding to play lacrosse instead of baseball. So there was a reason for it, but I don't know exactly what would be causing this other than just it being down.
Yeah. And they do, the lacrosse programs at Okemos are very big, very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And, football was competitive, and Jack Wallace was there.
Mm-hmm.
And, Paul Palmer had some good seasons at Okemos as well. Jack Wallace is a Hall of Fame coach, so it's kind of concerning.
Yeah, that's what's confusing, because Okemos is just like they have a good sized school. I mean, there's a lot of kids there.
Well, they have about 1,500 kids.
It's got to be one of the largest in
their
conference.
district. Yeah. One of the largest districts in the Mid-Michigan Lansing area, and you only have 18 kids on your roster for football.
Yeah, there's something there. It's not a lack of talent, as I know there's athletes walking all over that school. So, yeah, no, I'm with you. It's concerning, and I have no idea what it could be. I mean, other than the obvious ones with the across the board reasons with the head injury, things like that, and the dangers of football. I don't know if it's just more.
But I'm not completely sold on that, and the only reason why I say that is because soccer, you can get head injuries and concussions almost just as much as in football. They've done the research on it. Lacrosse is a very physical sport.
Yeah, but I think that what's coming out with the football head injury stuff, it's not necessarily the one big concussion, that you get that's going to cause this. And that's why you're seeing it's not necessarily the wide receivers that are getting it as much. It's the linemen, it's the linebackers and the running backs that are getting the constant pounding, the no break in the action. You're getting those subtle hits, 50, 60 times a game that really add up. But I can't imagine that for whatever that would be the reason why it's so down, because I mean that would be something that would be across the board for everyone. So if participation was down everywhere in the same respect, then yeah, you can point to that, and it might be a small factor, but I can't imagine that that's the only reason. There's got to be something else there.
Yeah, and on top of only having 18 players on the roster as of yesterday, 7 of the coaches have left as well. So it's going to be a complete overhaul. It isn't a complete overhaul for Brad Lilly, and he really, truly is concerned about the future of the program. And so as a result, I wanted to share the interview that we did yesterday.
Well, I think going forward, we need to grow our football family. And I think that's going to take the entire community of Okemos taking ownership of it. It's so much bigger than one person. the whole community is the program. And from the scholar athletes and the coaches to the cheerleaders, the color guard and the marching band, to the student body and the alumni, I think everybody has an equity stake in the success of a football program. So I'd just like to reach out to everybody in the community and involve them in the improvement process in every aspect of the program.
What was it like for you, I guess, then in the last 24 hours or so, maybe 48, or ever since Mike, last week, essentially, since Mike has stepped down? What's the biggest thing that you've had to deal with so far?
I think the biggest thing is just reaching out to players and trying to build a relationship from there. Coaches too. A lot of our staff left with Mike and prior to Mike leaving. So, we got to rebuild that family and get everybody on the same page in the short run-up time. I think we have 5 weeks until the first game week. So it's really a monumental task, and it's going to take everybody coming together and rallying behind a cause. So I'm looking forward to it. We certainly wish Mike the best in his professional endeavors, and look forward to picking up the torch and making something of a season.
Were you surprised?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mike was surprised, and it's been a lot of transition, with the Chiefs logo and everything changing. There's just been a lot of transition, and we really need something that we can stand behind, team unity, academics, things that we could really believe in going forward and build a program on.
Are those your philosophy or some of your philosophies as a coach then? And if you could expand upon maybe some other things that you're going to be not preaching to the players that you have, but letting them know your style, more of your style as a head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So the foundation that you build anything on here is academics. We want to prepare our athletes for next level competition. And I think team unity comes after that, so we want to do a lot of team building activities. I think building a culture in a program is very important. So going forward, like I said, we want to involve the whole community. I think there's not a lot of buy-in right now in our football program, and I think it starts with everybody participating. So business owners, administrators, everybody, student body. If you ever had an interest in this program, I invite you to come out and be a part of it.
Where do you think that drop-off happened or started, if you had to something? Because you guys have been through a lot of changes, maybe not just necessarily with football, but in the athletic department for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had a lot of leadership turnover, so that's tough. Honestly, I can't speak for everyone. I just, the past is the past. COVID was tough. I think going forward, we need to just build our family. I think so many people have run away, and I think a lot of the kids felt abandoned. So I think going forward, we just need to let them know that we're there for them, and that we care about their success going forward. And we care about their academics and things that are going to be around long after the events have been forgotten. And that's how we made you feel. So I think that's where I want to start.
And then you mentioned you have positions to fill. So what positions on your coaching staff do you have to fill in 5 weeks?
All right, so currently we're sitting at 18 players on varsity. So if you've ever had an interest in playing football, I would ask you to come out and play and give it a shot. Some of the relationships that we build in football you'll always have them. You'll never lose those. And then on the coaching staff, we've had 7 of our coaching staff members leave, so we're currently sitting at 3 besides myself. So if you've ever had an interest in helping out with a coaching program, we'd love to have you get in touch with us and see if it might be a good fit for you. So we're asking the entire Okemos community to participate. We're going to create some team support groups with parents and businesses to help sponsor the program and help give our players all the nourishment that their bodies and minds need. So we need everybody.
So essentially, listening to that, I felt as though Lily is pleading for, honestly, anyone and everyone to come out and play. And as he said, if you've ever had an interest in coaching, come out and coach. I mean, he needs help.
Yeah. No, that there's a lot of concern in that interview for sure, of just the direction of the program as a whole. It's sad. I mean, it really is. I was just thinking during that too of like what else could be causing this, and unfortunately, sometimes it's just the domino effect where there's probably are, 6, 7, 8 kids in the school that aren't on the roster right now that would like to play football, but they're looking at it as going, I don't want to jump onto a team that has uncertainty as well. My friends aren't playing. People aren't playing. I don't want to, go through a season like that and struggle through a season. And I don't know, man. That's tough.
He made a really good point, too, about how the football program is not just one coach, one player.
No.
It is really a community-based sport.
For sure.
I mean, you think about initially, kind of like small town, how all the shops close, like Puamo, Westphalia. Everybody, Friday nights shut down. We're at the football field. That sense of community. And they have a lot of kids who participate in the marching band. I think over 200, roughly. They have many students who participate in the color guard, as he's mentioning. You have cheerleaders.
Yeah.
All of those programs and all of those activities, extracurricular activities, and those are affected when you don't have football.
No question.
And so
like homecoming dances and parades and all things you tend to center around a football game or something like that nature. Yeah, I don't know where you go with that.
Right. And so I don't know if it'll get to the point where they won't be able to field a team this year, but if you have 18 players, you're playing both ways. So then it comes to safety issue. If parents are really worried about safety playing football, well, now it's even a bigger issue when it comes to safety because they're going to have to play both ways.
Oh, and I mean, I can't imagine too that it's just going to be 18 perfect fit, for position wise. There's going to be kids playing completely out of position, guys on the offensive line that shouldn't be on the offensive line, and I feel for it. And to add to it, you're in a conference with big powered schools. I mean, you're not playing other schools that have 20, 22 kids. I mean, you're playing against some teams that have rosters of 40, 50 guys, and it's going to be a struggle to compete, especially in football, man. In football, if you're short in football, it is tough.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Okemos is supposed to open the season on August 27th against Mason. We had Gary Houghton in here a month ago.
Yeah. They've
been in the weight room. They're coming off back-to-back undefeated regular seasons in the red. Granted, Okemos is in the blue, but still, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess almost you almost have to put them in a different conference for football because, I mean, like I said, like if you're a kid that's on the fence right now of thinking about going to play and you're looking at a roster that only has 18 kids and then you're looking at the first game of the schedule against Mason, like, do you want to go out and put yourself through? Because, I mean, football is it's a physical sport. There is no question about that. And if you're overwhelmed from a talent standpoint, I mean, like it can get dangerous, and it's I don't know. It's sad that they're at this point.
This is something that the athletic department and the school board really need to sit down and look at.
No question.
And I don't know if they're not on the same page when it comes to athletics and academics or where the divide is, but it blows my mind because Okemos is one of the biggest districts in the mid-Michigan area. There's no reason that they should only have 18 kids playing football. It almost be like
Ann Arbor Pioneer or Rockford being able to field 18 kids, and you're going, it's a struggle, and I feel bad for Brad Lilly. I mean, I hope he can somehow find a way to motivate and resurrect this thing and get some more kids to buy in and revamp the youth program, because that's ultimately where it starts is at the youth ranks. I mean, kids don't decide once they get to high school that they're going to play football. It's usually already in their bloods or in their routine. So.
Yeah, I think you need to find, where you see a lot of success when it comes to, the attrition of a program and is at the youth level. And, so he started coaching at Okemos in 2014 at the youth level as an assistant at the 4th grade level. And then kind of just as the years progressed, he's served in pretty much essentially almost every role there. And then, strength and conditioning, defensive coordinator. Last year, he was the head coach for the junior varsity football team. But the youth piece aspect is super important because, if you have people that are just maybe a lot of times too, I think people get involved at the youth level because their kids are playing. So they want to be like their coach or, be a part of it in that way. And that's great because it takes a lot of time, especially to teach young 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders about the game. But you need somebody who's really going to, hone in and invest on the future and work with those young students as well. And so, as I mentioned, Lily, he's not a stranger to Mid-Michigan or the Okemos football program. He graduated from Lansing Everett in 1995. He was a Lansing firefighter for 21 years. He's retired now, but as I mentioned, started coaching at Okemos in 2014. He got his start as an assistant, just mentioned as well, at the 4th grade level, and then all the way up until last year as the junior varsity coach. I think that, I think that if you do have an interest and are just somehow, would like to be there.
Yeah.
I definitely think Brad Lilly is looking for your phone call.
No questions. And for sure for him, my advice, obviously he's going to have to do the, requesting kids in the high school and trying to get to field a team. But if he's serious about where will this be 5-6 years from now, and can we get, because that's, where they're at right now, it's almost going to take that. It's almost like a rebuild, but you're doing it. You got to do it through the youth levels, and you have to. That's where I would first look, and because you're trying to figure out why is participation down so much, and usually these kids aren't deciding once they get to high school that all of a sudden they're going to not play football. This stuff is very much decided early on in their youth ranks, and I would dig deep into that youth level, that youth program, and try to figure out what we can do to get the participation levels in that back up, so that 4 or 5 years ago from then, when they're in high school, they're already in the football mode, and not every year you're going and trying to cherry pick athletes to just come and play and begging kids to come and play, which unfortunately that's where they're at right now, where you have to do it in the short term. But for long term, that's the first spot I would look, is that youth level, and see what's the issue.
Yeah, begging coaches, begging athletes, and these 18 players too, majority of them are junior varsity players that he coached last year.
Yeah.
Senior leadership?
Not existent.
No.
Yeah.
All right, well.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Very.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, the football talk is going to roll on today in Detroit at Ford Field. The Mid-American Conference is holding its annual Media Day. Nick Mantis is there for us on the WLNS side of things, and so I'm hoping we can pop in and speak with him to see how things are going in the D. We'll be back shortly.
Thinking of a new air conditioning unit for your home? Hi, Peggy Doty with Doty Mechanical. A new Carrier high-efficiency AC unit will lower your energy usage and increase your home comfort. Current Carrier Cool Cash offers and available utility rebates mean your savings have never been better.
Call Doty Mechanical today at 327-7777 or visit us at dotymechanical.com for your free estimate. For heating and cooling, the names to know, Doty Mechanical and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Fitness company Peloton is expanding into the video game space. The Verge reports the cycle maker is launching an in-app game called Lane Break. It works by having riders meet goals through changed resistance levels and cadence. Word is it'll be open to members only for a beta test sometime this year. Officials say Virginia Tech was targeted in 2 recent cyber attacks.
It was one of the more than 1,000 businesses affected by a ransomware attack on the IT firm Cassia. However, the Roanoke Times reports the university doesn't believe any data was taken. They also do not believe data was stolen during a separate attack in May on a university server. I'm Rebecca Hubbard.
The Space Force wants to build 3 radar sites around the world to scan for any attacks on vital satellites. Sites in Texas, the UK, and Australia are reportedly under consideration. The bases would also be able to track space debris that poses a threat to satellites. Tech Report, James Flippin, NBC News Radio.
You have an annual physical to make sure you are healthy. What do you do to make sure you remain financially fit? Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management specialize in thoughtful and objective investment guidance designed to keep your finances in shape. Call today at 248-626-2000 and ask for either Mark or Jay. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
President Biden is slamming Facebook for allowing the spread of misinformation about COVID vaccines.
And they're killing people.
New infections rose in all 50 states Saturday. The Biden administration has reportedly decided it's time to fight back. One example White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki highlighted is the spread of a demonstrably false narrative that says coronavirus vaccines cause infertility. Facebook says there are multiple factors behind the spread of health misinformation. I'm Mike Bauer.
Los Angeles County has reported more than 1,000 confirmed COVID cases for 10 straight days as the highly infectious Delta variant continues to infect predominantly unvaccinated people. The indoor mask mandate, well, that's returned in L.A. County, and the president of the Culver City Chamber of Commerce is worried about what the future holds.
It's frustrating. It's going to continue to impact the recovery for businesses.
Health updates. Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. The world's richest man is joining a small group of humans who have left the planet Earth. Jeff Bezos' Edge of Space trip today was a joy to watch for astronauts like Mike Fossum, who watched it closely.
They're entrepreneurs, but they're also showmen. They know how to generate excitement about what they're doing.
Blue Origin, which was founded by Bezos, set up their launch pad in the West Texas town of Van Horn. That's where today's launch took place. It's one of many private spaceflight companies that have popped up, including Elon Musk's SpaceX, which is also based in Texas. Texas Democrats who fled the state in protest of voting laws will meet today with House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn. State Representative Ron Reynolds says they feel that he is key to passing a federal voting rights bill.
Majority Whip Clyburn is a staple in terms of leading on voting rights. He was one of President Biden's closest allies.
Democrats in Congress currently do not have the numbers to pass a federal voting rights bill. There's also a push to end the filibuster in order to get it passed. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. Miguel Cabrera had 5 RBI as the Tigers crushed the Texas Rangers 14-0 last night at Comerica Park. Starter Casey Mize surrendered just 1 hit in 4 innings of work. Tarek Skubal gets the nod for Detroit against Texas hurler Dane Dunning tonight in the second of a 4-game series. The Tigers have placed catcher Jake Rogers on the 10-day injured list. According to the team, Rogers has soreness in his right arm. Detroit recalled catcher Grayson Greiner from AAA Toledo to fill the roster spot. And the Bucks will look to claim their second championship in franchise history when they host the Suns for Game 6 of the NBA Finals in Milwaukee tonight. It would be 50 years apart for the Bucks, who claimed their first title in 1971. The Suns are hoping to force a Game 7. A loss would cement the Suns with the most NBA Final appearances of any active franchise without a championship.
Welcome back to the Audrey Dahlgren Show.
You want to win, don't you?
Well, I think I'd really rather try to beat him honestly.
The Spotlight Radio Network.
All right, today in Detroit, the Mid-American Conference is holding its annual Media Day, or as people around here like to call it, the MAC. 12 teams, 12 coaches, 2 players from each team are in attendance at Ford Field. And no one from the Lansing area is in attendance from a player standpoint in terms of athletes that we'd want to, talk with like we do at Big Ten Football Media Days, which is also coming up this week in a couple of days. But in Detroit, so Cade Conley, who went to Williamson High School, he signed with Central as a preferred walk-on this last year. Okemos alum Broderick Jordan plays for Eastern Michigan. And that's the other thing, Alex. This Okemos thing is triggering me today.
Go for it.
So here you have Broderick Jordan. He was a great player at Okemos. Mm-hmm. Taylor Moton just signed a $72 million deal with the Carolina Panthers, made it official yesterday. He played at Okemos.
Yeah.
They have good athletes.
Oh, they have athletes walking all over that school. There's no question about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, this isn't a Division 6 or Division 7 with 89 kids in the class that's trying to scrape together a 20-man team. No, this is a 500, probably 500 plus, class each, in each level that, and they're still not able to put. It's really. I mean, I laugh, but it's not funny. It's really concerning.
Yeah, it is. And so, but I mean, it just speaks to, though, as I'm saying, that they have athletes, they have talent, they have history, they have tradition. Where did it go?
Well, while we're speaking on concerns, unless you can go ahead, we're bringing up the MAC.
Go for it.
This is
This is the concern show.
Yeah, that level of football is what with this new transfer portal and the name, image, and likeness thing combining, kind of all at the same time. I really, really feel in my heart of hearts that it's going to be the mid-majors that are really going to struggle and suffer from this stuff because, I mean, just putting in scenarios, so you do have that stud, that stud quarterback that you found, the gem, a 2-star guy, and his junior year, he decides that he wants to leave because now he doesn't have to sit a year because of the transfer portal, but now there's even more incentive for him to take off because now it's like, from a financial and professional standpoint, I can go build my brand at one of these schools way, way better than I can here. So now it's like a double the reason for these guys to take off. And I don't know if they're going to get much trickle down effect either. And I really think those are going to be like I'm concerned for the MAC and that level of football and how they're going to compete at the Division I level now with the name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal all coming together at once. Because, I mean, I hate to say it, but the Central Michigans and the Western Michigans of the world aren't going to be able to pull as much name, image, and likeness dollars and opportunities for their athletes as a Michigan State or a Michigan or whatever. And if you were on the fence of leaving, I think there's going to be an added push to do so now with that incentive and the fact that you don't have to sit out a year. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer. If you can go play at that level and get a year of building your brand with these programs that are built like Michigan State with the Evergreen program and things like that, man, I'm really concerned for that level of football.
Or two, you have players, and I think this is kind of what you're speaking to as well, that start there for a year, go to a school like Western, Eastern, Central, go for a year, they do well, and then they transfer, which is what you're speaking to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not going to get rewarded for finding that lower tier player now. I mean, it with the transfer portal, I mean, they were going to be able to leave regardless and not have to sit out a year, but there's not as much of that incentive because now if you transfer after your freshman year and you get buried on the depth chart, you might not even play. So there's still at least something kind of keeping you back because you're in a system that you know. But now the added incentive of now if you transfer, not only are you going to be able to play for a bigger, better program, but you're going to also be able to capitalize monetarily off that much, much more than you would have previously. I just see there being an added push for these kids. Like they're almost going to be using those programs as like a JUCO type thing where you're going to go there and they're going to already going to be looking for the next best thing. That scares me. I mean, on the other side of the token, I do think it's going to spread out the competition a little bit more throughout the Power 5 ranks for the schools that can, they have those resources available where, because if you're a 4-star guy, and you're getting recruited by Bama, yeah, that's great and all, but you're going to be the 15th best player on that class. And yeah, you're at Alabama. And if you're the big fish at Alabama, yeah, that name, image, and likeness, that money, that'll be rolling in. But if you're the 15th best recruit and you're going to get redshirted and you're not even going to have that opportunity to start until your junior year, you're not going to be able to capitalize off of your name the same way you would as if you go to a smaller Power 5 school. Now you're the big fish in a smaller pond. You might not be at a better program, but you're going to be able to build your brand there a little bit better because you're not clouded by all the other great talent. So I think the other schools, like Nebraska comes to mind because they're a university that loves their football. They love their players. That community's passionate about their players. If you're a 4-star guy, 4-star quarterback, or a wide receiver, do you want to go to there and be able to, as a freshman, be able to make money off your name like a Katin Houser type level? But if Katin Houser goes to Alabama, I mean, they're used to getting that. They're used to getting the Katin Houser, so they're not going to get excited. That community's not going to get excited about the incoming freshmen. They want the guys that are on the field.
Yeah.
Which is, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for that level of so I do think it will spread it out a little bit. throughout the Power Five, but the people that are going to suffer, I think, are going to be those mid-major colleges. I'm really worried for them.
Yeah, and, coaches are going to have to work a lot harder to recruit because of it as well. And the other local guy I want to mention who he went to Portland High School, Mark Brooks. He's the offensive lineman for the Broncos at Western Michigan. And this is going to be Jim McElwain's third season in Mount Pleasant at Central Michigan, although it feels like he's been there for a long time, only just his third year. And I think there's going to be some pretty big expectations for him because in his first season, he was able to lead the Chippewas to the MAC championship game at Ford Field. They lost, but still, I think there's going to be some high hopes for him. Nick Mantis, as I mentioned, is at Ford Field. He's actually in the middle of interviewing Tim Lester right now, Western Michigan's football coach. And so he said in about 5 minutes or so, he's going to join us for the tail end of the show, just to give us a little glimpse of what's going on, because I actually want to hear what MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher had to say, because he kicked off Media Day today. And I saw a lot on Twitter from Nick, and Justin Rose was tweeting how he was just roasting the NCAA.
Really?
And so I'd really like to get
what about?
More of a breakdown on that. So, let me go to Nick had a tweet that he pushed out there, and he said that Commissioner John Steinbrecher stated athletes who are not vaccinated will have to go through a testing protocol. He highly encourages vaccinations, referencing NC State and the College World Series as an example of what he wants to avoid. So that's not really like ripping the NCAA, I don't think. I saw that other tweet from Jay Rose about how he was ripping the NCAA. So that's what
I'm curious into what, like, is it over the COVID situation, how they're going to handle that? Is it over the new name, image, and likeness stuff? Is it over? I'm curious to see what that would be about, because I mean, just as I went on a rant earlier, if I'm the president of the MAC or whatever, I'm very concerned about this stuff, and I would have to see a clear, because I mean, it will almost get to the point if they don't have something in place to help. I mean, I guess you get the trickle down of the kids transferring out of these big schools, and maybe there's going to be opportunity to fill in from that pool of people. But if you're transferring out, when those kids are typically not looking to transfer down if they're transferring out their freshman or sophomore year. So I'm curious to see what that what his issue was.
Yeah, and you make a good point with it, because they're more apt to leave.
Like Tyson Walker, like that situation. Why would I wait till my fifth year to do so? And now if I go to Michigan State out of my sophomore and my junior year, there's so much more to capitalize, and there's so much more incentive, and there's almost no. There's obviously the risk of falling down on the depth chart and not actually being able to perform at that level. But man, you're not sitting out a year, and there's. It makes me nervous for that level, without a doubt.
Yeah. So we'll hear from Nick shortly. While we wait for him, Michigan State football did actually announce yesterday the 3 players that it's going to be taking to Lucas Oil Stadium for Big Ten Football Media Days in Indianapolis. Those 3 players are Jalen Naylor, Xavier Henderson, and Drew Beasley. And I was a little surprised by those 3.
You think so? You surprised? I thought those were safe picks. Because
they're safe for sure.
Are you getting to the point where you're hoping a quarterback was coming down with them?
That was one part that I was thinking of. I'm like, why wouldn't you bring Russo or Thorne? But then I thought, well, why would they? Because they're still trying to figure out who's gonna maybe be the starter.
Yeah, because that tells you that they don't have it figured out yet.
Exactly.
And if they did, I don't even know if they would, because do they want to show their hand right away? I mean, obviously, but I wasn't too surprised. I was hoping to see, from a fan, a selfish standpoint, as a fan, I would have loved to see one of the quarterbacks to allow that mystery to come to the forefront. But I thought they picked 3 safe ones. It's three guys that aren't really going to tell you much.
Well, Drew Beasley, I will say this. he's very well-spoken.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like a guy, and traditionally, you take guys to an event like this who know how to talk,
Mm-hmm.
who are conscientious of what they're saying,
Yeah.
as you're mentioning, and also, too, who are kind of viewed as leaders in the program.
Mm-hmm.
And at least that's how Michigan State has always done it. That's how other schools do it. Captains, seniors, maybe, or breakout players or players who they feel are going to have a breakout year.
Yeah.
Those are typically the players that go to these Big Ten football media days. And so, yes, while the meet from a coverage standpoint, we would love to have a
that would have
quarterback
been great.
there.
We would have had a lot to
But
discuss if that
I
were
get-
the case. But.
Well, yeah, and then they'd get asked so many questions. And then also, too, people would probably make assumptions that is going to be the starting quarterback. And as you said, don't want to give your cards too early. Still, this is supposed to be kind of like a fun event.
No, and I genuinely believe they don't have it figured out. I think it'll probably get sorted out on the field. I think they'll probably maybe both get a half to start or whatever that case may be, kind of go by committee for a little while. Hopefully not too long, because you know how that works out. When you have multiple quarterbacks, it means you have none. So, but I think that they're just going to allow them to decide, and that's the one beautiful thing about the quarterback position. I think Graham Couch brings it up all the time. That's like one spot that really the coaches don't get to pick. The players ultimately will decide. I mean, everybody knows it's usually pretty obvious of who's the guy. So there is no mystery there, but. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm leaning towards Peyton Thorne though with that spring game and being in the program, and I don't know. I think regardless, they will be in a better spot this year at the quarterback position than they were in 2020.
Hands down. And also to go along with that, in players who I thought maybe, I know they're new to the program, but I was kind of hoping at least one of the transfers would go.
Yeah, that would have been a great
And
tally. Yeah,
I think because so many people want to hear from them.
Mm-hmm. Like a Kenneth Walker.
Oh, yeah. Kenneth Walker,
Well, I mean,
Harold Joyner, Quavaris Crouch.
Yeah, that would have been. It would have been. I think if you do that, you almost have to bring like all three transfers. Like if you're gonna do that, because I mean, you don't want to alienate. I don't know if you're alienating, but to send the message that you can be on campus for only 6 months and kind of be the quote unquote captain or leader of the team. Maybe he wanted to stay away from it from that standpoint, but no, I'm with you. I think it would have been awesome to have three transfers, three new blood, because I mean, really, that's from the fan base and the mindset of the fan base is we're hopeful and we're looking for the new the new era of football, and that there is no fresher talent coming in than the transfers that they brought. So it would have been awesome to hear from them, hear what their experiences have been like, and I think maybe you don't get as many candid answers if you do, but
we'll hear from them. We'll hear from them in the first day of fall camp.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely looking forward to that.
And Nick is ready.
Nick's ready?
Yes,
right,
so
I'll
we're
give
going
him a
to
quick
call
call.
Nick. But yeah, we'll hear from, for sure, all the transfers come August 5th. That's the first day of fall camp for Michigan State's football team. And we will be able to go to practice this year, almost 99.9%, well, 0.8, I'll say 99.8% that media will be able to come back to some practices, which is going to be great. Although, like I said, we're not really privy to seeing the intensity of what happens. But hey, so Nick's here now with us, and we're going to jump right into it because we got some short time with him. Nick, how you doing in Detroit?
We're doing good. We're doing good, Audit. It has been a busy, busy day, so I apologize for just getting onto the show now. But we have been running around all the different booths when it comes to Central Michigan's booth, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, trying to just get an overall view of how things have been going when it comes to spring ball, and now guys are getting back for things getting going. We are 5 weeks away from the start of the season, so it's kind of good to see everybody again, to hear from some guys, and to talk to a couple of the coaches about some of the local guys from our area. For example, Eastern Michigan's Broderick Jordan is from Okemos. We got Central Michigan's Cade Connolly from Williamston, and now Western Michigan's Mark Brooks, who has been a staple on the offensive line for Western Michigan. He is from Portland. So a lot of good information we're getting from the guys about their excitement for the season, their excitement for our local guys in the mid-Michigan area and how they can be really important pieces on these programs as we get closer to the start of the season this fall.
That's awesome. And, I want to ask you, too, because MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher opened the day with his press conference, and I feel like he had a lot of really interesting things to say. You tweeted something about the vaccinations, and then I also saw another tweet about how he kind of roasted the NCAA. Can you let us in on that?
Yeah, that was an interesting bit. He was hoping that, when it comes to the not just necessarily, obviously each conference is going to be different in the way in which they handle certain things like vaccinations, like the NIL that we're seeing a lot of different athletes sign on for different companies nowadays. And he's hoping that there would be a national kind of guidelines as to how to go through certain things like the NIL and wishing that there would be an NCAA kind of a look at how things can go from a national standpoint when it comes to those guidelines, when it comes to dealing with NIL type of contracts and stuff. And so that was kind of his standpoint on that, was hoping that there would be something like that. But it was a moment that we all kind of, you're sitting there with your camera and your microphone, and it's a moment where we all kind of look up, and it was a hair-raising type of moment. It was like, oh, okay, he's making a statement here with this. And it was kind of interesting to hear that, because we haven't heard from from commissioners and as well as from head coaches and from players as well, their take on it, and to see everybody in person here and to get takes like that on it has been a great opportunity for not just all of us when it comes to the Six News, but for a lot of fans and people in Michigan who have been hungry and waiting for an entire year for an opportunity to have something like this. So the MAC, as they're saying, is MAC action. They're flying the flag and they're ready to go for this year, for their 75th year for the MAC. So it's a really exciting time here at Ford Field, and we got a lot of great information that people are going to be excited about when it comes to our shows tonight.
Awesome. Can you give people, too, a quick little tease then of something that you're able to maybe find out about our local guys?
Sure, absolutely. When it comes to Mark Brooks, the guy from Portland, he's an offensive lineman at Western Michigan now. Now he's a senior. One of his offensive linemen, one of his buddies on the offensive line, which was Mike Caliendo. He is a big part of the offensive line. He was talking about how Mark Brooks is a guy who loves to hunt and to fish, and he's not that great at golf, but Mike is trying to help him out as much as he possibly can with it. But he's a great guy who from the Portland area really means a lot to their offensive line. And the Western Michigan, their big advantage or big strength this year is the trenches. So look for our local guy, Mark Brooks, to be a big factor when it comes to Western Michigan's offensive line.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nick, for jumping on quickly with us. Enjoy the rest of the day, and obviously I'll see you later.
I'll see you later.
All right, Nick Mantis, working hard down in Detroit today for us, and we can't wait to showcase all of the coverage tonight at 6 and 11 on WLNS, so you're not going to want to miss that. And that does it for our Hashtag Tuesday Tune Show today here. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Just entering the workplace. Connect with KB is an